So this lady traveled from Abuja to Lagos, where she lodged in a hotel, only for a fellow guest in the same hotel to go into her room and murder her, just because she had something he needed in order to legally check out of the hotel. The suspect in this horrible case was so manipulative that he even used the police to track down another person he had a problem with without the police knowing. But the good thing was that the ghost of his victim tormented him so hard that the police had to take him to the hospital for urgent treatment. This is the horrifying story of Mrs. Feyisayo Obot, a female lawyer and a mother of 2 children who lodged in a hotel like anyone does, but failed to check out alive. It all began on the 23rd of January 2019 after Mrs. Feyisayo Obot had left her residence in Abuja to fly to Lagos, where she was supposed to take her project management examination. On arrival, she checked into room 501 on the 5th floor of City Heights Hotel in Ikeja, Lagos State, Nigeria. However, a few hours later, another guest checked into room 311 on the 3rd floor of the same hotel, and this marked the beginning of the horror that would soon befall her. Feyisayo was supposed to spend 3 days in Lagos, after which she would fly back to Abuja. However, on the 26th of February, which was the day she was billed to return to Abuja, her husband waited at the airport to pick her up, but her plane never landed. He tried calling her phone numbers, but they were all switched off. The husband then reached out to Feyisayo's brother's wife, who resided in Lagos, to inform her that he hadn't been able to reach her sister-in-law. The wife then called her husband, Afolabi, to inform him that his sister was yet to arrive in Abuja and that all efforts to reach her have proved abortive. After a while, Afolabi received a call directly from his brother-in-law, informing him that one of Feyisayo's colleagues had called to disclose that Feyisayo was sick and unconscious in her hotel room. What the husband didn't know was that what was portrayed as sick and unconscious was just a pleasant way to describe the horror that had befallen his wife. As soon as Afolabi received the actual location of the hotel, he entered his car and drove down to check on his sister. However, on arrival, he met people with sad faces all over the hotel. He probably didn't think much about it until he saw the same sadness on the faces of Feyisayo's colleagues. The hotel management had already contacted the police division at Ikeja to report the gruesome discovery. The police arrived shortly after, and they were led to room 501, where Feyisayo had lodged. On opening the door, they found Feyisayo lying face down on the bed and covered with a duvet. When the officers removed the duvet, they noticed that her throat had been slit and that there were also multiple signs of physical injuries on her body. She was declared dead at the scene, and her corpse was transported to the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital mortuary, pending an autopsy and further investigation. The police took charge of the crime scene and then began their investigation into uncovering the circumstances surrounding the gruesome death of Mrs. Feyisayo Obot. The hotel had CCTV cameras at strategic positions within the premises. After the divisional police officer arrived at the scene, he requested the security footage starting from the day Feyisayo arrived at the hotel to the day she was murdered. After reviewing the security footage, it was discovered that around 7:29 a.m. on the day of the incident, a young man who was also a guest in the hotel left his room on the 3rd floor and then went up to the 5th floor. While in the hallway, he hid himself after hearing what sounded like footsteps. When it became apparent that the coast was clear, he came out from hiding and then went to Feyisayo's room. The video showed that when he got to the door, he knocked twice and the door was opened for him to enter. The young man spent about 9 minutes inside the room and then ran out at 7:32 a.m. He went to the 3rd floor and entered room 311. The police obtained the guest register and then established that the room was assigned to a man with the name Adedeji Ayodele. However, the police were also able to ascertain that the name given to the hotel by the suspect was fake and that his real name was Joshua Osulo. The officers went down to room 311, where they discovered bloodstains on the shower basin, and the bed sheets within the room. The hotel receptionist and other staff members who were on duty within the 3 days the crime was committed were all taken in for questioning. Feyisayo Obot was a 34-year-old lawyer and mother of 2 children who was married to a very supportive husband. She worked as the National Administration Manager at the Abuja office of Save the Children an international non-governmental organization dedicated to improving the lives of children around the world. At the station, the receptionist explained that Joshua checked into the hotel at 10 a.m. He was asked to fill out a form where he described himself as a 23-year-old student under the fake name Adedeji Ayodele. He paid the cash sum of 30,000 naira, which was the cost for one night in the hotel. Joshua was supposed to check out around 12 p.m. the next day, but after he checked in, the receptionist never saw him again. On the day he was supposed to check out, the receptionist called him, but Joshua said he would leave by 6 p.m. The receptionist then informed him that he would be charged for the extra hours, to which he agreed to pay. The receptionist explained to the police that she was not on duty at the hotel on the day the murder was committed, and that she was called by her colleague and informed that a guest she had checked in had killed another guest in room 501. The hotel's operation manager explained how he confronted Joshua for his outstanding bill of 42,000 naira. According to him, when a guest has an outstanding bill, they seize their luggage until they pay. In Joshua's case, he said he looked into his luggage and discovered that he had just a pair of jeans and a pair of shoes, but that he had 3 mobile phones, an Itel phone, a Samsung phone, and an iPhone in his possession. He said he collected the iPhone and the Samsung phone since they could cover the cost of his outstanding bills. Joshua had promised him that he would return to make the payment, but when his number was called, it was busy. The manager went on to disclose that it was after Joshua had left that they realized Feyisayo had been murdered. The police began searching for Joshua. The main clue they had was a mobile phone that he had left behind at the hotel. The investigating police officer, IPO, worked tirelessly for a month using this phone to track Joshua's whereabouts. The police eventually located Joshua at the Intercontinental Hotel on February 28, 2019. They set up a clever trap by luring him with a fake job offer. When Joshua arrived at the hotel, he was holding a copy of his CV, ready for what he thought would be a job interview. The IPO immediately recognized him because he had a unique working style. When the police officer approached Joshua and introduced himself, Joshua immediately said that he knew what he had done and that he was willing to confess to everything. The police took him to the State Criminal Investigation Department, where he was formally cautioned before giving his statement. In his confession, Joshua revealed the chilling details of how he murdered Feyisayo. He told the police that he had checked into the hotel on January 23 and met Feyisayo the next day. He claimed they spoke briefly and then exchanged room numbers. Joshua told her that he was a chef looking for a job. On January 26, which was the day of the murder, Joshua went to Feyisayo's room. When she asked who was at the door, he lied, saying he was a staff member of the hotel. After gaining entry into her room, he spotted 27,000 naira on the table and took it. He then asked Feyisayo if she had more money. She told him she didn't and explained that even her hotel bills were paid by her employer. At that point, Joshua took out a knife and brutally attacked her, ending her life in the process. Joshua confessed that he took her life because he needed her money in order to pay his debt to the hotel. After committing this gruesome act, Joshua took Feyisayo's 2 mobile phones, a Samsung and an iPhone. He tried to leave the hotel discreetly, but was stopped by the operations manager of the hotel over his unpaid bills. Joshua handed over Feyisayo's phones as collateral and promised to return after withdrawing money from an ATM, but he never came back. On his way out, he threw the murder weapon into a canal. Initially, Joshua said that nobody sent him to commit the murder, but the next day, he changed his story and claimed that someone he had done business with had sent him to end Feyisayo's life. The police tracked down this person and brought him in for questioning. However, when confronted, the man denied the accusation. Joshua later admitted that he lied against this man and that he just wanted the police to help catch him so that he could recover the 900,000 naira the man owed him. The police officers were angered by this manipulative tactic and then scolded him for it. One night, while he was still in police custody, Joshua began crying out that Feyisayo's spirit was disturbing his life. He claimed he couldn't sleep and was extremely restless. The ghost of his victim was tormenting him so severely that the police had to take him to the hospital for treatment. Joshua was reportedly unconscious and needed medical attention due to what he described as Feyisayo's spirit haunting him. When the case went to court, Joshua was charged with murder, which carried a potential death penalty under the criminal law of Lagos State. However, while the prosecution was still presenting witnesses, Joshua's lawyer proposed a plea bargain agreement. Under this agreement, Joshua would plead guilty to the crime in exchange for a reduced sentence. The Director of Public Prosecution initially rejected the plea bargain, but later approved a term of 21 years imprisonment, which would start from the date of Joshua's arrest. When the case came before Justice Oluwatoyin Taiwo at the Ikeja Special Offences Court, she rejected the proposed prison term, saying it was too lenient for such a brutal crime. The judge decided to use her power to increase the prison term to 30 years. However, after hearing pleas for leniency from Joshua's lawyer, who argued that Joshua was young with a promising future and was remorseful, the judge reduced the sentence to 28 years. During the sentencing, the judge asked Joshua why he killed the lawyer. He simply responded that it was a mistake. He claimed he didn't know what got into him. The judge replied that his mistake had cost someone her life. Feyisayo's family was deeply disappointed with the outcome of the case. They were not informed about the plea bargain arrangement and only learned about the judgment through news reports. Feyisayo's brother, Afolabi, questioned why a plea bargain would be allowed in a murder case, saying it was like adding salt to a fresh wound. He argued that murder cases typically resulted in a life sentence or the death penalty, not a reduced prison term. Afolabi also raised concerns about how the murder was carried out. He pointed out that Joshua had left his room on the 3rd floor to go to the 5th floor, where Feyisayo was staying, and had brought a sharp knife with him. This suggested that the murder was planned in advance rather than a spontaneous robbery gone wrong. Legal experts also criticized the plea bargain, with one lawyer describing it as an abuse of the judicial process. The lawyer explained that the penalty for murder in Nigeria is very severe, especially when it is premeditated, as in this case. He advised the family to petition the Lagos State Attorney General to review the case in the interest of justice. At the time this video was made, there was no report on whether the family had petitioned the Attorney General for a case review. It's just so tragic how Feyisayo lost her life and how her killer got a pat on the back. Share your thoughts on this case in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories. Thank you for watching.